Recording in progress.
All right, welcome everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is a hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the Town of Grimsby. I'm going to start by introducing the committee members and staff. So committee members in attendance this evening are Dylan Bailey. I'll just have them acknowledged. Thank you, Dylan. Adam Mottershead. Adam, thank you. And myself, Kevin Antonides, as chair. We have two members absent, but we still have a quorum. So staff members present this evening are Walter, Assistant Director of Planning, Michaela, Assistant Secretary Treasurer, and Dilhara, Administrative Coordinator, Planning and Building. I'd like to just make some announcements before we begin. So live streaming, members of the public are advised that our meetings are live streamed by the Town of Grimsby. Individuals and media may be audibly and or visually recorded during this meeting. As a reminder, all electronic devices are to be in silent mode during our committee meeting. So just outlining the meeting procedures for a minute. The purpose of the Zoom meeting, applicants will be placed in a waiting room until your application is heard. The purpose of the application and relative correspondence will then be heard, following which the applicant will be given an opportunity to address their application. Any person concerned with the application will then be given an opportunity to speak. And at the conclusion of the discussion, the committee will render a decision and advise on any applicable conditions. Copies of the decisions will be mailed to the applicant or agent and to any other person who files a written request. To do so, please email Michaela Bray, Secretary Treasurer at the town, mbray@grimsby.ca. The applicant, the Town of Grimsby, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and specified persons in certain public bodies have the right to appeal either the decision itself or the conditions of consent to the Ontario Land Tribunal, or OLT, within 20 days of the date of the giving of the notice under Section 17, once it's completed for a consent application, and within 20 days of the notice or the date of the decision for a minor variance application. Specified persons and certain public bodies include public utilities, but do not include an individual or community association. Everyone present will be given an opportunity to comment on the applications being heard this evening. Please address your comments and questions through the chair. Each participant will be provided 5 minutes to speak, and each participant may speak only once. If you hear your comments presented by someone else, please do not duplicate the remarks. And when you are called, we'll ask that you state your name and address for the record. Agencies commenting on applications may request certain conditions be imposed. Voicing objections to these conditions will not adversely affect the committee's decision. All members of the committee have viewed the properties on the agenda tonight and are familiar with the lands that are subject to the application. Regarding pecuniary interest, do any of the members this evening have a pecuniary interest with the matters before us? No, and I have none as well. Are there any requests for withdrawal or adjournment? None. None. So we're first going to deal with the minutes of the previous meeting that was held on February 23rd. Could I have a mover and a seconder on the minutes? Sorry, I got to see your hands here. Dylan and Adam, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, if any, to approve was carried.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Chair. I just wonder if Michaela can note the minutes were actually not attached to the agenda, but I did review them from the previous meeting.
That was a mistake. If we need to bring them to the next meeting, we can do that unless everyone's reviewed them otherwise on eScribe.
Yeah, that's where I reviewed them. So
they were sent out, I think, last minute, right? On eScribe.
They were sent out this morning on the agenda.
Yeah.
They might not have been attached, but they were posted on eScribe only this morning since it's a new program. But if there hasn't been a chance to review them, we can just put them on April's agenda. But if everyone's reviewed them and is comfortable voting, then I don't see why we can't. It's up to the committee, I would say.
No, I've read them. I'm fine with them.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't see your hand because I'm scrolling between people here, so that's why I missed it. So the motion is to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Any further discussion then? All in favor say aye or raise your hand. Opposed, if any, was carried. Thank you. We have 3 applications before us this evening, so we've got all 3 minor variances. So we're going to first have The applicants accept the first one, 3 Nassau Drive, so A4822, go into the waiting room. So we'll have a small PowerPoint presentation. We'll go through it and then we'll open it up to the committee members for questions, then members of the public if they would like to ask the applicant or their agent any questions, and then vote on it to approve, defer, or deny. So we'll start with the first one, then we'll turn it over to Michaela.
Okay, so the first application is 3 Nassau Drive. And the purpose of this minor variance is to facilitate the construction of an addition to an existing single detached dwelling to permit a minimum front yard setback of 8.25 meters, whereas 11.12 meters is required, and to permit a maximum 1.5 meter garage projection past the proposed porch into the required front yard, whereas garage projections are not permitted to project past the front of the porch. And this is an image of the site plan that was submitted, same one that was circulated on the notice. And over here, we have an image of the neighborhood for context. And this one is, this is the existing conditions of the site. And these are the proposed plans for the site. And there were no objections from any of the agencies. We just have one condition from the Public Works Department, and that is that town staff will require a lot grading and drainage plan demonstrating that stormwater runoff will not negatively impact nor rely upon neighboring properties. Yeah, so that's it for that property.
Okay, thank you, Dahara. We're going to open up now to the owner or the representative. They would like to address the committee at all or expand or elaborate on the comments received in the application itself. Do we have somebody? Is it Brian?
Yeah, Brian or Amanda. Amanda, would you like to comment on anything, or are you okay with what was said?
No, I'm okay if you'd like to ask any questions.
Yeah, I just want to add the purpose of going forward with his garage was because of a pool, an existing pool that was behind the existing garage. So for the committee members, that was the reason we couldn't go back with the addition. That's why we had to go forward with the addition. That's really my only comment about it.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, do you have any questions for the applicant or the agent? None? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this application? Just give me a second here while I scroll through. Nothing here? Okay. Thank you. None noted. So then do we have a motion on the application? Adam, seconded by Dylan. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, if any? It was carried. So there is a 20-day appeal period before it becomes final and binding, as you heard at the beginning. And thank you for attending.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the next application is A0823, 16 Bell Avenue. Tahara? Okay.
Kevin. Walter said that you didn't read the motion.
I know, I just thought of it now, I just signed it. But
Okay.
It
I
was
think it's
circulated.
fine.
It was circulated.
No, I got it. Tahara's not. Anyway, you said.
Okay, am I good to go?
Yep.
Okay, so for 16 Bell Avenue, the purpose of the minor variance application is to facilitate the construction of a single detached two-story dwelling, to permit a maximum lot coverage of 19% with the acquisition of area A, or to permit a maximum lot coverage of 21% without the acquisition of area A, whereas 15% is permitted. To permit a garage projection of 0.7 meters beyond the front wall of the first story of the dwelling with the acquisition of area A, whereas no part of a garage shall project beyond the front wall of the first story of the dwelling. And this is the site plan that was submitted. The same one was circulated on the notice. I want to note that area A is owned by the town over here, area A. This is an image of the neighborhood for context. This is the existing condition of the site. And these are the proposed plans for the site. And once again, there's no objections from any of the agencies, simply a couple of conditions from the Public Works Department. The first one is that town staff will require a lot grading and drainage plan demonstrating that stormwater runoff will not negatively impact nor rely upon neighboring properties. And the town is supportive of deeming this parcel that is at the front of the property, which is currently under the ownership of the town, as surplus, and merge it with 16 Bell Avenue. As such, a condition for approval will be that the transfer of this surplus land needs to be completed in accordance with the town's sale and disposition of land bylaw number 0776. And I'll hand it back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the owner or the representative here to elaborate or comment on the application and any comments received?
Yes.
Anastasia? Please get your name and address for the record.
Yes. Anastasia Georgakakis for the address of 16 Bell Avenue.
Okay, go ahead.
We're just requesting the single detached two-story dwelling and addressing that the area A is of property of the town, but are accepting the transfer of the lands with the process, which the variance requested adjusts from 19 to 21% based on that land transfer.
Okay, are there any other questions from the committee first? Do we have anything? Just give me a second here. Dylan or Adam? So I have a question regarding the timing of the transfer, because if it's not, I don't know how long is it expected to take to transfer the lands? Does Walter know, or do you know? Do they give you any indication? Walter?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I've emailed, I believe it's Taylor, a few times already asking for next steps in process.
Walter?
Yeah, thank you through you, Chair. It's a process that will require authorization from council. And then it's a matter of ensuring that we have a proper legal description to do the transfer. So the timing, it may be a month or two, depending on some circumstances and timing of council meetings.
Okay, thank you. I'm just curious about, I mean, if the way it's worded now, if approved, then it wouldn't really matter because there's two, you've covered both, like with or without.
Right.
But if for whatever reason one was approved, not the other, then, or if the other was approved, assuming it would be acquired, then they couldn't technically get a building permit, right, until they did acquire that land. I mean, it's just a legal thing, but it's just like you've covered it off, I believe, in this the way it's written now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That was the purpose of the wording of the resolution. Exactly.
Okay. No further questions to the committee. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this matter, or a neighbor? We had a few on the agenda, so just give us a second here till we find, is it Susan?
Yes.
Could we just get your names and addresses for the record?
Susan Hay, and I'm at 113 Udell Way.
Where is that in relation to the subject? I just want to get an idea.
It's to the side where where our house backs onto the side of their backyard.
Okay. Can we get an aerial maybe pulled up? Just give us a.
Yeah, you can see it on the map. It's marked.
Just get a neighborhood map. We're just gonna give us 2 seconds here. Just want to put this in perspective a bit. So you would be whereabouts on this? Let's say 1, 2, 3 up from the corner. Oh,
okay.
Sorry, we lost it. Just 2
It's
seconds.
disappeared.
Oh, give us a second here. We'll get it back. There we go.
Okay, so looking at the picture to the left of it, we're the second house down.
Okay, so just where the bend starts in their lot? Okay.
Right.
All right.
So I guess my concern then is the bend is where the back of the new house would be. So in effect, we're going to be staring at a 2-story brick wall, whereas now we have green space behind us.
Okay. Do we have is there a site plan on here that would help? That one. So the way I see this site plan, the proposed site plan, yours is just at the start of the bend and further north, whereas this shows the site plan kind of stopping at the bend, the new site plan.
Right.
Am I reading that correctly?
Our backyard goes to basically where the bend starts.
Right.
So at the moment there are, the backyard of the property is, has several mature trees in it. So I'm assuming all of those trees are coming down. Can that be confirmed?
I can't I can't confirm that the trees will be staying, but we'd love to maintain everything that's on the property. There's no plans to remove any of the frontage trees, and we're trying to preserve as many as we can. In the back, there are dead foliage though. There are a few dead trees in the back as it is a fairly old property. So we will be maintaining those if we can keep those.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions, Susan, or comments?
We don't know the actual square footage of the house. That's not on any of the, on the footprint map that we got. Can that be confirmed?
Anastasia?
The main floor is around 1,800 square feet, including in plus garage.
Did you get that, Susan? 1,800
Yeah.
square foot footprint plus garage?
Okay, so there's the second story, right? That's
Correct.
Also
that's a
1,800
permitted
square
use, though.
feet then.
Right, but 2 stories are permitted uses.
Okay. So this is just basically to be rubber stamped, right? There's no,
Not necessarily.
well, obviously when we purchased the property, 20 years ago, this was the attraction, was that it was backing onto an old neighborhood that was not going to get built on. So, this is all new to us. So I'm not sure what this process actually entails.
Right. Now, I believe Susan or Anastasia, you're maintaining the side yard setback. So the westerly side yard setback, you're not requesting a variance from the lot line that abuts Susan and the other 2 properties.
Our sides are maintained and within the requested or like the permitted meters. So we're 22 feet from the lot line on Susan's side.
Okay. So I guess a question for Walter, 15% seems like a really low lot coverage. Is that typical just this area, or maybe you can provide us some insight or background on this, Walter?
Yes, through you, Chair. The 15% would be based on the historical footprints of the houses that are on the old subdivision. So so you're correct. So it's 15% is what's typical for the existing subdivision. The lots that were created here were primarily, I think they were created at a time when there were no sanitary services available in the area. So that sort of determined the size of the lots. And at the time, the popular form of housing was bungalow and side splits. So, and the size of the housing was very in vogue at that time. So yeah, it's very typical of that style of that's the period of development. Other things of note, the proposed setbacks on the site are substantial relative to the minimum requirements of the zoning bylaw, particularly the side yards. So they're providing significant amount of space on the sides of the dwellings. The neighbor we're referencing today, their property directly faces the rear yard, and the proposed building doesn't encroach into that direct line of the neighboring property. I'm trying to think of other.
Can you put the overhead on again? The aerial?
Yeah.
Can you put the aerial on? Sorry. Yeah, and then just zoom in a little bit.
Right. So the proposed dwelling, although it'll be a little bit deeper than the existing dwelling, it'll still be, the back of the new dwelling will still be in line with the southerly lot line of the neighbor's property. So so they'll be looking directly still into the rear yard and not into the side of the house.
So for comparison, what would the lot coverage be on Udell Way? Just looking at those lots and the size of the houses.
That's right. They are in the neighborhood of, I think the requirement at the time was 35% in the previous zoning bylaw. So I can't confirm the exact number, but they should be 35% or less. So the proposal is 21, I think.
21 with partial A or acquisition of partial A, yeah.
Right.
So still significantly less than the neighbors to the west.
So and our opinion was that the house size is commensurate with many of the newer houses in the new subdivision. This is the last house in the old subdivision, so we felt it was appropriate given the context of the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, Susan, or comments?
No, I don't have any other questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there anyone else? Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to this matter? Can you see?
I just had a question.
Oh, sorry. Can you just get your name and address for the
Sure, yeah.
record?
Alexandra Grigorchik, address is 117 Udell Way. So
Okay.
directly to the west of 16 Belle Ave,
Yeah.
right in the corner.
Okay.
Could you show the house drawings again?
Is that the one you're looking for?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I was just curious to see, what the side of the house will be like if we're going to have windows directly facing each other.
So that would, I would assume, be the bottom left. Oh, top right. Oh, sorry, you're right. That's the porch. Okay, I was looking at backwards.
Yeah.
So I can confirm and just to state that the two windows there on the top are actually open to above. So there'll be nothing directly above those windows. It'll be a cathedral ceiling.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that help?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
Nope.
No? Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else? No? Nobody else? Committee members then, do you have any other questions or comments in light of the questions raised or concerns or comments raised? Adam?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a problem with the application being speculative in nature as to the acquisition of the other property. It's basically because the minor variance is only applying to land that's already owned. So I don't know. It's kind of like a chicken and egg scenario with this proposed resolution to approve it with the conditions. I don't know. I feel more comfortable if this was deferred and perhaps council can deal with it. And then, if they get the land, they get the land and it can come back as a straight minor variance.
Well, I think that's why the second option is here. I mean, the option is you can strike out 21 and put 19, or sorry, the other way around, 21 without option A. And if they acquire it, they're actually well in compliance of what the variances would be approved for. Right? That's the difference. I mean, if you drove by it, there's no visual effect on the actual front yard. It's a legal, obviously there is a remnant cul-de-sac there, but in terms of the impact on the property and the town, to my opinion wouldn't be that there be any visual or site coverage issues, but I'll let Walter, he's got his hand up, so let him comment.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Chair. Again, the purpose of that semicircle that's for the front of the property was to accommodate a temporary cul-de-sac that was there until the new subdivision was built, and then the cul-de-sac was removed. So there was actually a bulb there until the new subdivision was extended. So it was always intended for this cul-de-sac bulb to be temporary and to be absorbed by the abutting properties when it was no longer needed.
So is it the town's policy to sell it at market value, or they just dispose of it at cost? Like, I could see the previous owner, if they didn't want to buy it, didn't bother them, they wouldn't go through the process probably for 20 years or whatever it was.
Yes, that will be our recommendation.
Okay. So then I would suggest that we approve it without the acquisition, and then if they do acquire it in 3 months, that's even more in compliance, I guess.
And through you, Chair, the reason we asked for the two different scenarios is the owner is under no obligation to acquire the land.
Right.
So we didn't know at the time whether or not they would be interested when the report was written. But obviously they've expressed an interest to do so. What I would suggest is that if you approve a higher number, you'd be approving potentially a significant addition to the house, which you may not want to do at this time. May warrant another application at a future date for that extra 2%. 2% of a 3rd-acre lot is quite a bit of floor space. So
the way it's written with both in there, that would at least tie it down to the existing house. Right. Exactly. Gotcha.
That was the reason behind that. Thank
okay,
you.
That makes sense. Any further questions, Adam or Dylan? Adam?
Yeah, so what would be the proposed lot coverage then, based on without the area A?
It would be either 19 or 21. 19 with it and 21 without it. But to Walter's point, if you approve it without, then technically, if he doesn't buy it, he could actually put more square footage on the building.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. If you approve it at 21%,
But
they
if you
don't
approve,
buy it.
but if you approve it at 19 without, it's locked into this footprint, and add the option of 21%. Otherwise, he would, or am I saying it in reverse? But we're tying it down to this square footage, put it that way. Now I see the reason why for putting both in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thanks.
Okay. Dylan, any further questions? No?
No, I'm okay with the proposal.
Okay. So
I'm happy to move it unless
then
Adam
I'll let you, I omitted to read the actual motion last time. I just
Yep.
went flying through. It's probably a record
Sure.
approval. So maybe we should have you read it then.
Sure, I was going to read the
You're gonna move it.
resolution.
Yep.
Sure. So I move that be it resolved that minor variance application A0823 for 16 Bell Avenue to permit a maximum lot coverage of 19% with the acquisition of area A, or to permit a maximum lot coverage of 21% without the acquisition of area A, whereas 15% is permitted, to permit a garage projection of 0.7 meters beyond the front wall of the first story of the dwelling with the acquisition of area A, whereas no part of a garage shall project beyond the front wall of the first story of the dwelling be approved. The variance is minor in nature. It is appropriate for the subject lands and does meet the intent of the zoning bylaw and official plan. There are two conditions, as previously noted, that needs to be attached to that motion. I can read them if needed, Mr. Chair.
That's fine, unless anybody else wants the clarification, but they were circulated. That's regarding lot drainage and the ownership of the property that we're talking about under the sales and disposition. Walter?
May I suggest that the conditions be read so that if necessary, the applicants can speak to them?
Okay, so I'll read them then if that's okay, Dylan. So the conditions recommended by staff attached to Dylan's motion would be as follows. Town staff will require a lot grading and drainage plan demonstrating that stormwater runoff will not negatively impact nor rely on neighboring properties. And two, that the 131.22 square meter parcel at the front of your property is currently under the ownership of the town. And the town is supportive of deeming this parcel surplus and merge it with 16 Bell Avenue. As such, a condition for approval will be that the transfer of the surplus land needs to be completed in accordance with the town sale and disposition of land bylaw 0776. So as long as Anastasia, you're aware of those conditions that were recommended by town staff, they would form part of the motion and approval.
Yep, that sounds
okay. And seconder then? Adam? Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye or raise your hand for the screen. Opposed, if any, was carried. Thank you. And thank you for attending. There is a 20-day appeal period before it becomes final and binding. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the last application this evening is 155 Main Street West, A07-23. We'll give Dahara a second to bring them in from the waiting room and then go through the application.
Okay, so the purpose of the minor variance application for 155 Main Street West is to facilitate the construction of a single detached two-story dwelling and to permit a maximum lot coverage of 33.5%, whereas 15% is permitted. This is the site plan that was submitted, and the same one was circulated on the notice. This is an image of the neighborhood for context. This is a picture of the existing conditions of the site. This is the proposed plan for the site. And none of the agencies have concerns. However, the approval is subject to the conditions as follows. We have 14 conditions, so I will go through them individually. Number one, town staff will require a lot grading and drainage plan demonstrating that stormwater runoff will not negatively impact nor rely upon neighboring properties. Staff will require a servicing plan to identify the proposed and existing connection to town services. The proponent is required to submit a stormwater management plan to the town and deemed satisfactory by the Director of Public Works. That vegetative screening be added to the northwest portion of the subject site in order to further mitigate visual impacts to the significant heritage resource at 159 Main Street West. That the vegetative screening include trees found within the Carolinian forest in an effort to maintain and enhance the Carolinian forest species found throughout the town of Grimsby. That the applicant provide a detailed construction plan with the building permit and that the document include a detailed assessment of the potential impacts from vibrations caused during construction and how the heritage resources structural stability will be taken into consideration during the time of construction. That vibration monitoring devices be added to the subject property and that heritage staff be provided access to the monitoring devices throughout the duration of the construction. That the detailed construction plan include a strategy to secure the grade of the adjacent dwelling during excavation so that the soil around the heritage resource remains undisturbed. That the detailed construction plan include hoarding to protect the trees that are being retained. That the detailed construction plan include a strategy to mitigate potential water runoff from the escarpment caused by change to the subject site. That the final materials and colors be noted within the elevations submitted with the building permit and that those documents be reviewed and approved by heritage staff to ensure that the proposed dwelling's final design is compatible, distinguishable, and subordinate to the heritage dwelling at 159 Main Street West. That the final design of the front porch be in keeping with the designs presented to the Grimsby Heritage Advisory Committee, and further, that the final design be approved by heritage staff to ensure that the design is compatible, distinguishable, and subordinate to the heritage dwelling at 159 Main Street West. That the owner provide a legal written undertaking agreeing to implement the approved recommendations of the scoped arborist report prepared by P&A Urban Forestry Consulting Limited, dated January 19, 2023. Including but not limited to the pre, during, and post-construction of arboriculture requirements outlined on pages 4 and 5. And finally, that the owner submit a stage 1 archaeological assessment prepared by a licensed archaeologist and any required subsequent archaeological assessments to the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism, and receive an acknowledgement letter from the same ministry copied to Niagara Region, confirming that all archaeological resource concerns have met licensing and resource conservation requirements prior to any development on the site. No demolition, grading, or other soil disturbances shall take place on the subject property prior to the issuance of a letter from the ministry through Niagara Region confirming that all archaeological resource concerns have met licensing and resource conservation requirements. And we have Bianca from Heritage here, if anyone has any questions regarding this site.
Thank you, Dahara. Is the owner or the representative here to elaborate on the application or
I'm one of the
offer
owners.
comments?
Unfortunately, hi.
Hi.
Unfortunately, our agent slash architect had a stroke, so he wasn't
What?
able to attend. Yeah, Nick Philippus. Yes, he did. Yeah.
Oh, how is he?
Well, we don't have too much information, but that's what we were told. Otherwise, he would have attended the meeting. Now, my son-in-law, also Dino, he's up in the air. He's flying right now, so he couldn't attend this Zoom meeting. And there are quite a few requirements here. From my understanding, some of them we've already provided, but I'm not 100% sure. So we'll have to get everything in writing and take it step by step.
Now, I understand you've submitted a lot of the studies already.
Yes.
Because there was quite a list, an extensive list that were read as conditions. So can you give us an idea of what's done and what has to be done yet? I imagine you did it in consultation with Bianca, or?
Yes, we did in consultation with Bianca. Yeah, we've already, we've done the heritage report. Megan Hobson, we hired, and she submitted it all. So you should have all that on file. We had the arborist report. We've been dealing, you know, with everybody that we were told to by Bianca. So to my knowledge, you know, some of the stuff that was detailed by Delera, I believe you have. But as I said, we'll get the written report hopefully tomorrow, and then we'll have to go through it step by step. So provided all those requirements are met, then we are able to build a house.
Subject to the condition approval for the lot coverage. That's what we're here to see, to discuss the request for variance on the lot coverage, right? We're going from 15% to 33%.
Right.
So if that's approved, if it's approved, it would be with these conditions that you're fully aware of
then we could
that were read off. Yes.
Then we can do it.
Yes.
We can
subject to the appeal period, correct.
Subject to the appeal period, which is 30
20
days.
Yeah.
Or 20 days. Is it 20 days
20
now?
days. Yeah.
20 days. Okay. All right. Well, I am one of the owners, but as I said, my husband wasn't able to attend. My son-in-law, Dino, who's been helping us, is just returning from Florida. And unfortunately, Nick is not available. So if we can get the written report, and as I said, to my knowledge, I think a lot of these things have already been provided. Okay. But we'll have to take it step by step.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to open it up to the committee members and then the members of the public. So we'll start with the committee members if they have any questions, or Walter. Walter's got his hand up first. So Walter?
Yeah, thank you through chair. It might be helpful to Angelina if Bianca gave a summary of the work that has already been done and work that has already been submitted and what would still be outstanding.
Bianca?
Okay.
Bianca, if you could just summarize.
Thank you. Bianca, go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. So Dino and Angelina, they've done a lot of work to this point to address many of the components on the site. So they've conducted the heritage impact assessment, they've done the arborist report, they've done the archaeological assessment, they just need to register it. They've done geotechnical report for public works. They've had the habitat and natural area assessment assessed by the Niagara region. The Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority have been on site with Public Works to assess the toe of the escarpment. The Niagara Escarpment sent their approval of the application, so a lot of work has gone and underway on the site. So these conditions are to satisfy a lot of the components. So the heritage pieces, those echo the heritage impact assessment comments, and they've also gone to the Heritage Grimsby Advisory Committee, and the condition or the comments from the committee have also been worked into those conditions. So those are echoing a lot of the things that have already been done. It's just our way of formally having all the documents submitted. And then the construction management plan for the actual heritage building was mentioned within the heritage impact assessment. It's a pretty standard process. So that's how that piece will be addressed. So they've worked through all those points. These are just really allowing us to get all those final documents.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay,
Bianca.
thank you. Are there any questions from the committee members first then? Adam, Dylan, no? Anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this matter? We did have somebody on here, which I think is, I see a Debbie. That would be Jeff and Debbie Gifford. Is that correct? Did you wish to speak or address the committee?
Just getting off mute.
There we go.
Hi,
Yep,
Jeff
gotcha.
and Debbie Gifford. Jeff and Debbie Gifford, and we're on the other side of the lot at 153 Main Street West. And we just wanted to welcome Angelina and Massimo to the
Thank you.
neighborhood.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, like nice to meet you. Obviously, a lot of time and effort has been put into this project. And the only concern that we had is given the tightness of the lot and the fact we have I think the term is a listed heritage property where the original part of the building was built before 1900. We just wanted to ensure that during the course of the construction that the integrity of our house won't be impacted. I know there's a lot of mention about 159 Main Street West, but there's nothing really about 153. So we just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, okay. So you're on the other side then. Okay, you're 150.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
For those. Thank you for those comments. So I guess Walter or Bianca, if you could. Oh, Bianca's got her hand up. Thank you.
Okay.
Through you, the chair. Yes, your house is also being taken into consideration with the vibration monitoring devices. So I will reach out to you, but I will likely like to put some type of monitoring device on your foundation as well as the heritage dwelling at 159. And so we'll keep an eye on your monitoring devices, and we'll also have the vibration level, like it'll be measuring the level of vibration on the subject site. And then if we see any strain on either of your foundations, then we can go over and tell them they need to lower their vibration. So both of yours will be taken into consideration.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
Does that help or address?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the committee members or staff? Adam?
Yeah, just further to Bianca's comments, the condition in the resolution just says a vibration monitoring devices be added to the subject property. Doesn't mention anything about neighboring properties, I don't think.
Bianca?
Thank you, through the chair. So similar to what, as I was just saying, so we've actually put glass and epoxy on the foundation of the adjacent properties, and we would put that on a settlement crack. And our goal is that the vibration monitoring device will be on the subject site because that's where the construction is being done. So the monitoring device will tell us how high the vibration is. And then I would go to each of the adjacent properties and make sure that that glass isn't breaking. If it does break, that means there's movement occurring. So then we would go back to the subject property and tell them you need to lower the vibration. So then we'll see on the device that the vibration number is lower, and then we'll reinstall the glass and epoxy and continue to monitor. And then if we see it cracks again, then they'll have to lower. So that's how we will be assessing any impacts.
So Bianca, does that mean the wording has to be changed or altered at all in the conditions that were read to address the concern in writing then to make it a formal condition, as I to address Adam's comment or question?
You can add in if you feel it's adequate. We could say that in that vibration monitoring devices be installed on adjacent heritage resources.
Well, I think right now, like you said, it's added to the subject property, but it doesn't really talk about which property it's monitoring for, but I guess that would encompass both then. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because the monitoring device would only be on the subject property because that device is measuring the vibration. And we would want the monitoring devices to be on the heritage properties so that we're seeing if any change is happening to them. So I think maybe you could just add in and that vibration monitoring. Let me just think of the right term for it. I think we were saying monitoring device. It was monitoring. Sorry, let me think about what the wording was.
I'm looking at bullet 7. It just talks about a monitoring device on the subject property.
Yeah.
Right. So if I may, the glass and epoxy is also a monitoring device, although it's old school. It will determine whether or not there's any movement on the foundation. So if you just alter the condition to include the wording that Bianca suggested, that monitoring devices also be placed on neighboring heritage properties or resources, sorry. Makes sense, Bianca?
Yeah, I'm just reading the original resolution, so.
Number 7.
Yeah. Sorry, one second, I'm just writing it. Okay, how about that vibration monitoring devices be added to the subject property as well as the adjacent heritage resources?
Yes.
And that heritage staff be provided access to the monitoring devices throughout the duration of the construction.
So that doesn't change. Okay. Is that to address your concern, Adam?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And Debbie and Jeff as well, I presume. All right. And then do we have a motion on this application? Oh, sorry, Angeline, did you have your hand up?
On the neighboring heritage house, does this mean the 159 and the 153?
Correct, that's what they're.
Just those two, right?
Just
okay.
those two, yeah.
Okay.
Any further questions or comments then? If not, do I have a motion on the application? Now, we've read the conditions, perhaps then the motion be read itself with the condition just as amended by Bianca, and then we can read number 7, because just for the sake of brevity, I think we've heard them all in detail. That's okay. Whoever would like to make that motion and the reasons. Adam, move, seconder.
Yeah.
Dylan, thank you. Go ahead.
And it would be approved with the conditions as listed. And if Bianca wants to read out condition number 7, just for fulsomeness, I would appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, through the chair. I have that the vibration monitoring devices be added to the subject property as well as the adjacent heritage resources, and that heritage staff be provided access to the monitoring devices throughout the duration of construction.
Okay, thank you. So the motion would be resolved that minor variance A07-23 by Massimo and Angelina Longo for 155 Main Street West to permit a maximum lot coverage of 33.5%, whereas 15% is permitted, be approved with conditions as listed. And the reason for the decision is that the variance is minor in nature. It is appropriate for the development of the land, and it does meet the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye or raise their hand to the screen. Opposed, if any, was carried. So again, it was approved subject to the 20-day appeal period before it becomes final and binding, as well as meeting the conditions listed.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for attending this evening. Have a good evening, everyone, and pass on our best wishes to Nick. Hopefully he recovers quickly.
So, yeah.
I believe that's all the applications we have this evening. Staff, I think we're good, right? All right. We'll call the meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Recording stopped.